So finally, we just covered the quick block out. Now we're onto the form refine. So we're going to start picking pieces off of this thing and refining them individually. So we've got our block out here. What I'm going to do is if I turn on polyframe, you're going to see this is all one poly group. You might have a bunch of poly groups if you've been dynameshing. Let's go back here to mask pin, hold down control. If you've been dynameshing and stuff, you might have, it might look something like this, or if you've been using a lot of insert mesh brushes, it might look more like this. What I'm going to do is just hit Control W with nothing masked, and that is just going to mask whatever's visible on my screen. Now I've got all one poly group, and I'm just going to start picking pieces off. So now that I've got it to the point where, and that's just me turning polyframe on and off, I've got it to the point where I know the pieces I like and where they are, so I'm going to go ahead and just start masking this out. So I'm going to mask this little leather piece over here. And we're just going to pop this off and continue to refine the shape as we go. So again, I've just hold down Control, grab your mask pin up here, and then just by drawing on your mesh, you should be able to mask just this one individual area out. Control Alt Tap on your object to kind of sharpen that mask up or add a little bit more contrast in there. And alternatively, you can also Control Click, and that'll actually blur it out, but I'm going to want to keep it sharp, so Control Alt Tap. Now that I've got that area masked out, hit Control W, which will add a polygroup to where it was masked and then clear your mask for you. So I'm going to hold down Control Shift and tap that part here, and then I'm going to go to Split, Split Hidden right here. You can also do Split Unmasked Points if you've already got it masked, however you want to. I've got the Split Hidden, Hide Point and Split Hidden right here in my custom menu, so I tend to use that a little bit more. So I'm going to go out of solo mode, and I'm going to go ahead and delete this other block out. We don't really need to see that. So now when I alt tap this one, it's in its own poly group and its own mesh. If I go into solo, you're going to see that's what it looks like. However, if I alt tap this one, you're going to see, oh, this thing's actually full of holes. So one thing I might do next time is duplicate the boot off, because when I dynamesh this thing together, it's going to do some really nasty stuff. So what I'm going to temporarily do is I'm going to go back to this one. I'm going to duplicate this one. And then I'm going to take this duplicate and I'm going to merge it back down onto this thing. So I can just go under the merge menu, merge that down. And now these are merged together. I can control drag, dynamesh these together, that's fine. And now I've got this separate piece here still, and then I've got this merged one. So now what I can do with this merged one is, since I've already separated that one piece off, I can just smooth this down and turn this into the under part of the boot. And in fact, now that that top part, the leather part, is removed, I'm going to clay brush and kind of knock this back just a bit. You can continue to refine the rest of this boot. So it's going to continue up through here probably, something like this, and then the shoelaces are just going to so over, under, over, and then opposite on this side. You can figure that out, and then these are going to continue up through here. So you can kind of start blocking those in. So even as we're taking pieces off, we're continuing to refine what's going on underneath that part of the boot. And if it's never going to be seen, you don't need to do that. But since I'm going to be rebuilding this boot all the way, I'm going to go ahead and start indicating where those things go. Go out of solo mode here, alt tap your separated poly group here. And if you want to continue to knock this back a little bit, I'm going to go into my move brush, and I'm just alt tapping the original, and I'm just going to move that underneath so it doesn't interfere with our top leather piece. So now I'm going to alt tap this leather piece, and this is where we're getting into the second part here, to kind of closing holes and refining this. So one thing you can do with this shape, and again, I'm just keeping this quick. I'm going to go into solo mode here. If I go over here to geometry, modify topology, there's a close holes in here. When I hit close holes, it's not going to give me the greatest close holes. And you can kind of see that if I go in here to polygroup, it kind of did kind of a crazy process here. But one thing it does give me is, no, it still wants to do that. So it's giving me a little bit of a different result, but that's okay. So I can hold down Control Shift, and I'm going to hold down Control Shift, go back to my select rectangle just so I don't accidentally clip something. I'm going to isolate this polygroup, Control Tap to mask it, Control Shift to bring everything else back, Control Tap to invert that mask, and then with my move brush, I'm going to grab my move brush and then go into my make my draw size bigger just by tapping S on my keyboard, and now I'm just going to kind of move these around to get thickness. Now obviously these are very gross shapes. I wouldn't use these for much else other than to just go ahead and control drag again, and just dynamesh. So if I go out of solo mode, you're going to see I have a little bit of thickness. I can go through here and kind of start smoothing this down, refining this a little bit, going in with my clay brush. And it's just nicer to kind of work on something separately once I know it's where I want it. So I can kind of go through here and start refining. Now, if I go back into solo mode, alternatively, if you want to do a slightly nicer job than that, what you can do is you can go through and you can go to the subtool menu and extract with like a negative thickness. And if you have solo mode on, it's going to bring everything back when you hit extract. So what I'm going to do is turn on, with this selected, turn off the eyeball just to turn off all my other subtools, and then hit extract again. And you're going to see it's giving me a little bit of thickness. Another thing you can do, make sure everything's deleted, you can just Dynamesh this thing again, and what it's going to do is give you a poly group of your Dynamesh when it closed holes. Now, when Dynamesh closes holes, it doesn't do it mirrored, so you might have to go into Geometry, Modify Topology, hit Mirror and Weld across the x-axis, and that'll go ahead and mirror them. If you want to keep this one and it's mirroring across the wrong axis, when I hit Mirror and Weld, go down here to Deformations, mirror it first across the X, and then go and hit Mirror and Weld. Now, I don't like going back and forth between here a lot, so I have them right next to each other in my custom menu here. If you want to know more about custom menus, look at the Intro to ZBrush Part 2 on my YouTube channel, or Gumroad, or QBrush, and you'll see more of that. So now that we have all of that, I'm going to bring back all my other subtools by clicking this eyeball with everything turned off. And I got everything back. So I can start moving this around. I can start refining this here with my standard brush and kind of dig that back a little bit, smoothing this out. And I would just do this for all the big important pieces that I might want to rebuild later with Z-Spheres or Z-Remesher or Topology Brush.